What is going on, guys? So today I wanted to do a video about the importance of the off-season. The off-season, or your gaining phase, or whatever it is you want to call it, is basically the period which your calories are in a calorie surplus. So you're eating more than you're burning and you're trying to gain muscle. This phase, your gaining phase, is the only phase where you will actually be building tissue. So whilst you're dieting down or whilst you're maintaining body weight, you don't actually be building any new tissue. It's the gaining phase, this off-season phase, where you will be building new muscle. The reason for this is because your body needs food to grow. It needs the calories to stimulate the muscle growth, hence why you need to be in a surplus. And another off-season goal should be to get as strong as you can. So the best way to prove that we're building muscle is to be getting stronger. To know that we are lifting more than we have done before, doing things that we haven't done before, therefore we're going to have muscle that we haven't had before. A great way to do this is to look back to the logbook video that I put up on the channel and use a logbook to track your training numbers to be sure that you're progressing your lifts. The most common issue that I see among people with an off-season is not putting enough time into it. You need to realise that time is the biggest factor when it comes to pretty much anything. And then obviously being consistent over that time as well plays a massive part. Most people will do a 2 to 3 month off season where they put themselves in a calorie surplus, and because they've only got a little amount of time, they will ram the calories really high really quickly. They'll gain a lot of body fat, so scale weight will go really high. They'll think that that's the job done and they've built loads of muscle. Then they'll diet down again after 2 or 3 months, and they'll be in the same position from a physique standpoint when they've dieted down with barely any changes. So just continue repeating this process is literally asking yourself not to progress. You need to be giving yourself 6-7 months in an off season to really notice some serious muscle gain. And if you've done a 2 or 3 month off season before and you've seen yourself get a little bit out of hand when it comes to body fat, then potentially the way you structured the off season was wrong. Instead of using the off season as a complete excuse when it comes to eating whatever you want and however much you want and just trying to cram food in, it still needs to be calculated. So you still need to be going from wherever your calories were at the start of the off season, incrementing them up nice and slowly and trying to make the most of each increment when it comes to calorie jumps. In my opinion, in an off season, calories should be bumped up when scale weight is stalling when it should be rising, or when training performance is taking a hit. So if you've stopped gaining weight on the scales, then we need to look to increase calories to increase the surplus and therefore start that rate of gain off again. Or if training performance is not progressing and even regressing, which can happen, then there could be need for an increase in calories from that standpoint. These are all things that will have to be monitored throughout the whole off season, but one thing you shouldn't do is just ram loads of calories in straight away, because your body will literally not know what to do with the excess food and you will end up gaining a silly amount of body fat which you literally don't need. Another good thing about giving enough time when it comes to an off season is if you get 4 or 5 months into your off season and you've got say 10 months, you can always pull back, do a 6-week mini cut, take 10 to 15 pounds of body fat away and then continue building from there. In my opinion, a mini cut wouldn't be any longer than 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks is probably at the higher end. You just be in and out of an aggressive diet, and that way you can get straight back to gaining. One thing that you need to understand about the off season is that you are going to look worse. For you to gain muscle, you have to gain body fat. It's as simple as that. So over time, you are going to gain body fat, you are going to look a lot less lean, and you are going to lose all those lines that you had when you were dieted down. A few things that you can do to combat this is, obviously the first one is just become okay with it. Know that in the long run it's benefiting you, you're building muscle, and this is why we should take so much data in the off season so you can prove that it is working optimally. So as long as you're proving that scale weight is going up, as long as you're proving that training performance is going well, and as long as you know that health markers are still all intact, you're having a productive off season. Another thing you can do is think about the goals that you're setting. So the goals can't be visual goals in the short term. Obviously in the long term, an off season is put in place completely for the visual goal of building muscle and looking better when you next diet down. But in the short term of the actual time period of your off season, you need to look away from visual goals and look towards something more like performance-based goals. So you want to start setting goals based on your training performance, trying to hit a 100 kilo bench press for 3 sets of 10, trying to hit a set of deadlifts at 180 kilos for 8 reps. You want to be setting yourself performance goals in the gym that you know you can be chasing and you can be working on, using your logbook, trying to beat them every week. That way it gives you something to work towards, it will keep you motivated, and it won't take you off track when it comes to the progress that you're making. As we also know, getting stronger will correlate to more muscle. When have you ever seen someone who can deadlift like 240 kilos for 10 reps without a ridiculous looking back? It literally is a case of the stronger you can get at moving weight, the more muscle you will be building. I wanted to use my last off-season as an example for this, simply because it's the most productive off-season that I have ever had, and it was the most calculated. Before now, I had given far too many excuses when it came to the off-season to eat as much as I want, basically, to have loads of off-plan meals, to take training less seriously, and just to try and enjoy myself a little bit too much. Whereas this time round, I had a very structured training program in place. I progressed my lifts week in, week out, no matter what. My calories were tapered up nice and slowly, and I made the most of each jump. And I ended my off season like 30 plus pounds heavier than where it started, and body composition was still in a good place. I'll put a picture up on the screen now to show you exactly where my off season started and exactly where it finished, and you can just see the amount of progress that I made in terms of the muscle that I built. And that all came from being very meticulous with the data that I tracked when I was in the off season, being very progressive with my training and not letting up from that point of view, and not going too over the top with calories, not overeating, and basically still sticking to the limits that I had set. Yes, you can enjoy yourself a little bit more in the off season. You can fit a little bit more flexible food into your diet. You will be able to have meals off plan, and they will be easier just to sort of build into the program, but that does not mean that you use it as an excuse to let up on the goal. At the end of the day, if you were in your off season for the simple goal of to build muscle and to bring a better physique next time you diet down, then these are the things that you need to do and the things that you need to be looking at. You need to be looking at keeping your training nice and progressive. You need to look at keeping your surplus progressive instead of just ramming loads of calories in from the start. You need to look at setting yourself goals that correlate to the off season, like the performance-based goals that we just touched on. And you need to make sure that you're consistent with this for a long period of time. Don't give yourself 2 months in the off season. Start to look to give yourself 6 to 8 months and be consistent with these points for that period of time, and you will make some serious progress. If you've got any questions about the off season, how to structure your off season, specific questions based around you, drop them in the comment section below and I'll get them answered for you. Thank you for watching another video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and I will see you in the next one.